Our film begins in a mysterious room with only 8 tables and chairs arranged in it, each with a numbered piece of paper and a pen. Above them is a reflective glass with a timer on it. Suddenly, the door to the room opens and we see the 8 candidates entering, each taking their place with a paper and pen in front of them. An armed guard stands in the room with an observer behind him. The guards begins speaking to the 8, introducing himself and mentioning that many others attempted to secure their positions, but they were the only ones who succeeded. Moreover, only one of the 8 will win the job contract. The candidates are informed that they have one question in front of them, and they're required to provide only one answer. If anyone talks to themselves or the guard or damages anything on the exam paper, intentionally or unintentionally, they will be disqualified. The observer then gives them the chance to ask any questions, but no one responds. They're wished good luck and informed that the exam duration is 80 minutes, emphasizing that these 80 minutes will determine the next 80 years of their lives. The observer then exits the room and the countdown begins. During this time, the candidates nervously look at the blank paper in front of them, not knowing what to do. The second candidate writes on her paper that she deserves the job opportunity despite her pleas. The guard forcibly removes her from the room, leaving her emotional and pleading for a second chance. This incident increases the tension among the remaining candidates. The 5th candidate breaks the silence, informing them that the law prohibits them from talking to themselves or the guard, but they're allowed to communicate with each other. He encourages them to help each other reach the answer and solve the problem. The candidate starts discussing and competing to solve the question. They realize that they cannot know each other's names, as the company has assigned each person a number to maintain anonymity. The 5th candidate starts naming them based on their skin or hair colors such as blonde, black, brown, dark, and so on, while also naming himself White. After that, he stands up and tells them that standing and moving around are also not prohibited. At that moment, the dark woman suggests that the question might be written but not visible, like invisible ink or a watermark. They speculate that they may need a specific light to make it visible, so they place their papers in front of the room's spotlights, but nothing appears. Blonde discovers that some of the lights are not working. They assume these are emergency lights and starts breaking the functioning lights on the chairs, thinking it will trigger the emergency lights. Once the regular lights go off, the emergency lights illuminate, but placing the papers in front of them still doesn't reveal anything. They then realize that there are rays inside the emergency lights. Breaking them transforms the light into red, but even when they bring the papers close, there is no visible result. It is at this point that they discover that a quarter of their time has elapsed. They find the paper of the girl who was disqualified still present, so they decide to experiment with it, scribbling on it with pencils and attempting to use liquids, but none of these efforts yields results. Brown suggests that he feels the company's board is watching them behind the reflective glass in the room and betting on who will win. However, they start debating and suspecting that this could be a game or a conspiracy against them. Dark suggests that the CEO is the one observing them because he's the only one who can control everything in the company precisely. They all start blaming Dark, as she seems to know important information about the CEO. She explains that she heard about the job opportunity and applied for it, but nothing more. White then reveals that the company itself offered the job, looking for someone with a high level of responsibility, specifying the salary and the company's specialization in modern industrial technologies. Dark confesses that she knows the company has been struggling for the last 10 years until a researcher invented a temporary cure for a virus that caused many deaths. The company achieved sales of $20 million and its market value reached $60 million. At this moment, the woman with dark hair reveals her plan to prove herself and her intelligence. She went to the guard, searched him, and found a lighter. Suddenly, White, focused on the timer, approaches it, but nobody pays attention to him. Instead, they all focus on the dark-haired woman who is standing on a table to bring the lighter closer to the fire alarm sensor, hoping to trigger the water sprinklers to reveal the hidden question. However, the sprinklers do not activate. White then ignites the paper on the dark-haired woman without her realizing it, bringing it closer to the sensor. At that point, she is disqualified, and the guard escorts her out of the room. She is devastated and curses at White as she leaves. The sprinklers sometimes shut off. Black gets annoyed with what White did and threatens to hit him, but at that moment, the light flickers and Brown informs them that the light works through sound and operates by command. Meanwhile, the deaf candidate is sitting and crying, and White approaches him to understand what happened. White convinces him to tear his own paper, leading to his voluntary elimination and preventing the guard from forcibly removing him. The guard takes the deaf candidate out and his hearing aid falls inside the room. White then suggests to the remaining candidates that they should thank him for reducing the number in the room and continues to provoke them verbally. This irritates Black to the point where he decides to punch White hard, causing him to fall to the ground unconscious. Afterward, Brown ties White to a chair, intending to take him out of the room for elimination. However, Blonde warns them that according to the rules, nobody can leave the room willingly or else they will be disqualified. Removing someone against their will is the only way, but it could be dangerous. Suddenly, White wakes up and asks for medicine, fearing complications. Black reveals that the spasm White is experiencing are genuine, not fake, as his wife died due to similar seizures. They search for the medicine but cannot find it. White informs them that if he doesn't take the medicine, he might experience loss of consciousness, convulsion, and eventually a coma leading to death. During this time, Dark admits that she indeed works for the company, but wasn't placed with them. She applied for the job when she heard about it. Brown accuses her of being a spy and using her psychology knowledge to hide her true role. Suddenly, Brown grabs Dark and ties her to a chair, intending to torture her until she reveals information about the company. However, he stops when he realizes that she genuinely doesn't know the question. He apologizes, and Blonde tends to Dark's wounds. Meanwhile, White begins having seizures due to the virus. Black suggests that the seizures are real and they need to find out who took White's medicine. Dark discovers the medicine hidden in Brown's chewing gum wrapper, proving that Brown had it all along. When Brown tries to retrieve it, White prevents him, accusing him of intentionally endangering their lives. Blonde manages to retrieve the medicine using her hairpin, and White takes it. At this moment, the guard takes Dark out of the room for violating the rules. Blonde finds Brown's violent act unacceptable and tends to his injuries with plaster. White starts experiencing seizures again, and Black informs him that these seizures caused his wife's death. Brown, feeling guilty, tries to make amends, but the tension remains high. White suddenly runs towards the guard, intending to take his weapon and eliminate them all, ensuring that only he remains in the room. However, Black intervenes, grabs the weapon first, and threatens to shoot if White makes another move. Brown is ordered to leave, and he complies, eliminating himself willingly. After that, the weapon is aimed towards Black, and it is commanded to leave the room. However, at that moment, Blonde informs him that she will leave now, but before she exits, she instructs Light to lock the door. White then starts firing randomly until he hits Black, causing him to lose unconsciousness. Blonde doesn't leave the room at that moment, so White goes towards her to shoot, but time runs out. White then goes towards the window and talks to the administration in an irritated manner, claiming that he has the answers they need because he's the one who did everything. At this point, the guard approaches White, checks his watch, and discovers that there are still 20 seconds left, but White is disqualified for breaking the rules and contacting the monitor. White remembers when the deaf person went to the clock and no one paid attention to him, realizing that the clock then sped up 25 seconds to deceive them. When White understands all of this, he wants to end his life with the gun, but it only works to silence the guard. Time runs out, and Blonde uses her deaf aid glasses as a magnifying lens to search through the deaf person's papers for any clues. She finds that the first question is written in a very small font. Suddenly, the deaf person enters the monitor, recalling everything that happened and handing his paper to Blonde. She remembers the monitor's question when he asked any questions. She responds now, saying no, and that she has no questions. It turns out that it was the only question the monitor asked her. She tells him she won't accept the job until she understands who the deaf person is. He reveals that he's the CEO of the company. She asks him if the job is so important that they would kill someone for it. He assures her that no one died. She moves toward Black and discovers that he didn't die and there was no bullet in his body. She realizes that the bullet contains the cure for millions, bringing Black back from the fainting spell he was in. Blonde goes to the deaf person and tells him that she accepted the job. And that's the end of our movie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what you want the next movie to be. Goodbye!